Hey, you guys. Thank you for visiting my channel. Thank you for clicking on this video. I do want to say up front, all of my videos are simply for educational, entertainment purposes only. I'm not telling people to take any actions or dispensing advice. I will always tell you do your own research, seek professional help, and things like that, okay? So this is just from my perspective, my experiences, what I've studied and experienced in my life. And in this video, quickly, don't mind me. I know in my last few videos, everything I do a lot of different topics here on the channel. And in the last few videos, my hair has been different shades and different colors. It's in a transition phase right now, okay? I've got to get another toner and put on it, so it'll probably be another color in the upcoming future, another shade. But anyway, I'm getting ready for work, and before I go, while this is on my mind, I want to talk about quickly in this video, I want to talk about obsessive compulsive disorder, okay? And it's a complicated thing, so we're not going to get all into it in this one video. But I want to touch on obsessive compulsive disorder, what it really is, and just kind of talk about how we hear the term OCD thrown around everywhere. Whether a person has been diagnosed with it or not, whether they know what it is or not, we hear it used for everything. Oh, my OCD. Oh, it's just my OCD. Oh, I'm so OCD about this. You know, we hear that a lot, right? And these days, we hear another term thrown around a lot too, and that's narcissist. Right? Right. Those two things especially. Narcissist is everywhere now. Okay? And I have a lot of thoughts on that. And I think it's a good thing that it's everywhere now, because I'm glad people are paying more attention. I hope more people are taking the time to fully educate themselves on what that is. So that's kind of what I want to touch on in these videos. In this one in particular, is that I'm hoping, since these words are thrown around so loosely, I'm hoping that people really are taking notice now, and that maybe a lot of these people, it'll spread awareness, and people will really start to take the time to understand what is OCD. What do those people actually go through? What are the symptoms? What do they suffer through on the daily? What is that all about? And I'm hoping people will get interested and actually do their research and know the difference between, I'm just using this as a slang, I'm just throwing this out there, and someone who really has OCD, obsessive compulsive traits, tendencies, or has been diagnosed with the disorder, the full-blown disorder. Also, I'm hoping they'll do the same for narcissism. But that's a different video, okay? We're going to leave narcissism out of this video. I talk about it a lot. I have a long history with it and a lot of experience with it, but I'll get into that in a different video. But I also hope people are taking the time, if they are throwing the word narcissist around, I'm hoping they're taking the time to really, really study. Do a deep dive on narcissism, its roots, what that's all about, how we all have some narcissism. We're all fucking narcissistic in some ways, but most of us kind of keep that at bay, and we have a little more compassion and empathy for others and self-awareness, to the point where we're not going to run around this world letting our narcissism rule. That's all it is. And some people are more high level with their narcissism than others. And they really, really abuse and take advantage, okay? And it comes in many different shades, many different manifestations. There is no one label. There's no one, and people are throwing it around a lot. And a lot of them just don't know what the fuck they're talking about. You know, and the biggest experience you'll get with that is if you had to live with it. If you got to live with it day in and day out and really watch their patterns, pick up on how they speak, how they maneuver people, how they operate for long periods of time. I grew up with a parent like that. I've been around it all my life. But I didn't know there were several different types that can hide their narcissism and get in on you in different ways. Oh, they all look different, honey. And there's just so much to know about narcissism and how that shit develops and yada, yada, yada. That'll be a different video, okay? But I'm hoping people are taking time to know exactly what it is and stop, just sitting up calling anybody who pisses you off a narcissist. Anybody who makes their partner mad, that was a narcissist. Or anybody who takes a fucking selfie is a narcissist. People, come on now. Come on. We need to educate, okay? That's what I'm all about. I'm all about doing deep dives and really understanding things. So let's get into the OCD part of this. Let's talk about that. For anybody out there that has it or suffers from it, guys, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, is an anxiety disorder, okay? That's what it is. And it comes right along with generalized anxiety disorder, PTSD, even drug addiction. To me, that's kind of an obsessive compulsive thing. A person obsessing over the drug or the alcohol and then having to go act out the compulsion of drinking the alcohol or taking the drug to relieve the obsession, to relieve that anxiety, okay? That's kind of what that is. I mean, a drug addiction is like OCD. And I think many addicts have some type of level of obsessive compulsive disorder. You guys, I'm sorry. I have to get this done. My hair needs to be brushed out and pulled back up. I can't wait to get a better toner on this shit. But anyway, yeah, I just want to touch on this. Look, I'm not a professional. No, I don't know everything there is to know about anxiety and obsessive compulsive disorder and psychological I don't know everything there is to know. Absolutely not. But I can tell you guys my experience and my history with it. Growing up in a very dysfunctional and traumatic family upbringing, lots of abuse, all over the spectrum with abuse, violence, sexual abuse, mental, emotional abuse, all kinds of things, running away at a young age. I got court ordered into a lot of behavioral institutions, and I got a court appointed therapist at 14. And thank God I did, even though back then I was pretty rebellious about it. But luckily I had her up until my early adult years, and even back and forth, here and there, even up until my 30s. I was so blessed to have her guidance and her help. And I was diagnosed pretty early on in young adulthood with post-traumatic stress disorder, generalized anxiety disorder with obsessive compulsive traits. That is what my paperwork says, okay? And over the years, I've come to understand. At first, I didn't really understand, okay, obsessive compulsive traits. I've come to understand now at close to 46 years of age and doing a lot of studies and just a lot of experience under my belt, watching my own patterns and knowing myself. I've come to understand what that means. Exactly what that means to have obsessive compulsive traits versus tendencies, full-blown obsessive compulsive disorder. I mean, there are people out there that suffer from this tremendously, okay? Okay, so from what I understand and what I've experienced, I just couldn't put it into the exact words, having traits of a disorder, of a particular disorder, would mean that you would see characteristics of that disorder manifesting in you from time to time. And with OCD, it would be, of course, the repetitive thoughts that seem to get stuck on loop, certain obsessions, certain intrusive thoughts that you don't want, that you just can't stop. And those could be anything and everything from worrying about your boyfriend or certain bad thoughts, or it varies for different people. Some people are afraid that there's germs on the stove. I mean, the levels of severity can just really vary depending on the person, okay? But from my understanding, to have traits of a disorder, it means that you're going to experience a lot of the painful, intrusive characteristics and thinking patterns of that disorder from time to time, but basically over extended periods of time, you can keep yourself pretty stable. That's been my experience, and that's also what I've read. Meaning, I've always been able to manage my obsessive compulsive traits without having to take medication, and usually with a lot of mental and emotional work, cognitive work on myself, I can bail myself out of the loop, okay? I've done a lot of work on my own to understand my obsessive compulsive traits, when it's going too far and when I need to pull myself out. I will get into that in a second video, some exact examples and experiences of when my mind will click onto loop, what triggers some of the OCD, and how I got myself out. We'll get into that in a second video. But in this one, I just want to touch on kind of the basics of what this means, okay? Now, traits versus the full-on disorder. The traits I just explained to you. Basically, you will have some of this stuff coming on you, but you're pretty much able to manage it effectively. You're able to manage it and get yourself out of it somehow without having to take medication all the time and without it completely taking over your life, your ability to function, and all of that. Now, the full-blown disorder, many types of disorders in the full-blown way can completely take over your life and very much limit your ability to function on a daily basis, your ability to work, your ability to hold down a relationship, your ability to take care of yourself. Yes, so that would be what it would be like to have the full-blown situation. And we've seen, you know, a lot of us who study this stuff or whatever, we're aware of some of those full-blown cases. I mean, they've even had stuff like that on television, and it's really sad. A lot of people who do have full-blown OCD, it becomes horrific for them. They can't touch certain things, and it manifests differently for different people. That's why when I hear people say, "Oh my God, my house is dirty. I have OCD about it," or you know, they just kind of throw it out there lightly, like, "Oh my God, everything's a mess. It's making me OCD," or you know, I mean, I'm not knocking those people, but what I'm saying is, I just want people to be aware of and know the difference and the fact that there is real terror and suffering involved in the mind of a person who is experiencing obsessive compulsive disorder for real, okay? It's important that we know the difference, because that way, if you have someone in your life who's really experiencing that, you can understand them better. You can empathize with them better. You can know kind of how to navigate around them without making it worse for them, okay? Because I had people in my life from time to time who actually made it worse for me. They didn't know what I was going through. They thought it was all a joke. They didn't take the time to educate and inform themselves. They had just heard the slangs thrown around. "Oh, that chick is OCD," or, you know, they didn't understand the level of terror and anxiety that was really going on inside of me when I would become triggered and I would become like that, okay? So it's important that we know the differences, because the next time you run across someone like that, or if you have someone in your life that you care about that actually does have it, maybe they haven't even been diagnosed. Maybe they're exhibiting or presenting some characteristics that you don't understand, that they don't even understand. Maybe they haven't had help for it. Maybe they don't know what's going on inside of them. So I'm going to get to a few things in this video. Hopefully, I can spread some awareness. And if you have, you know, experienced something like that with somebody, maybe you can be a little more understanding of what is going on inside that person's mind and how terrible it really feels for them in that moment. They're not trying to play a joke on you. They're not trying to get attention. This can create some deep terror inside the mind of a person who has OCD. Okay, my phone has cut off twice now while trying to film this last segment. I hope I can get it done. Whew, pisses me off. Anyway, guys, what I mainly want to convey in this video, and I'll go ahead and get up a couple other parts to it, we'll finish it up, but to get it started in this video, what I mainly want to convey and want you guys to know is that OCD is anxiety, okay? Understand it like that. And I just want to give people a better awareness and a better understanding, just put something in them to, if you're around somebody who acts strangely to you, they are hyper focused in on certain little things they do or things they need a certain way, you can best bet your ass they're having some kind of anxiety, some kind of, it's deep rooted, okay? Maybe something they're not even aware of. Maybe they haven't had a therapist or had professional help. Maybe they haven't had a diagnosis, but maybe they have some deep-rooted trauma or anxiety, a wound, something they have never resolved back there, and they may not even be aware of it, okay? So I just want that awareness out there, because here's the top number one main thing you can do to help a person with OCD is educate yourself. Understand it for what it really, really is and what a person is going through when they are acting that way. They have clearly been triggered by something. There's something in there that is making them feel afraid, terror. Phobias go along with OCD a lot of the time, phobic personalities. And so if you can understand it that way, that's the best thing you can do if you care about someone with OCD, is educate yourself, be understanding, try to understand what they're going through. The absolute worst thing you can do is make it about you. I've been through situations like that, and it made it worse for me. They didn't understand. They didn't know the roots of this stuff. They were just kind of sitting up going, and usually it's really toxic people that are either damaged themselves, not facing their own problems, really super unaware, uneducated about that type of thing. And I've had people literally pick at me, provoke me. They're sitting there thinking in their minds, oh, she's trying to be a bitch. She's trying to control me. She's got to have it her way. That is the most ignorant, stupid, ridiculous, worst fucking person you could ever be around, is someone who thinks that way. Someone who does not even have the depth of emotion or emotional intelligence to even pick up on that much. That, wow, this person must really be going through something. They must really be afraid of something. There's something going on with them, and I don't know what it is, but I'm going to try to understand it, okay? So that's really what I want to convey in this first main video. OCD is real. And, you know, there are people all up and down the scale. People like myself who just have obsessive-compulsive traits, and we can pretty much keep it under control, but we still experience the terror. If we become triggered or something in our life, we can still get very much stuck in a loop. I'm going to go all into those examples with you in the next part, my experiences and things like that. It's a very real thing, and for some people it just gets more severe and more severe. It interferes with their daily life and ability to function. They have to have medication. They can barely touch anything or leave the house. They're afraid of, phobias come all in with obsessive compulsive disorder. So I hope I've conveyed that properly, that it's not just a slang. It's not just someone who's picky, who is a bitch, who's doing it to control you. It's the environment. It's the anxiety inside of them. And really putting two and two together, this all ties back to another video series I've been working on, and the Watts murder case and Shanann Watts. And I feel like she may have had this type of anxiety going on. She may, and so many of us that have this deep-rooted anxiety, who need our environments to be a certain way, who suffer from the anxiety involved with OCD, and we have to make things a certain way. So many of us are judged and misunderstood, and I think that was happening to her. Because we have to be around people that have some emotional intelligence. Just like her husband, Chris Watts. This man murdered her. He murdered his entire family. I think a lot of little things like that were going on, and that man did not have the emotional intelligence to understand her. Let me make this clear, because I've been with partners like that and people around people like that. My anxiety and my OCD and my deep-rooted triggers are not about you. Stop making it personal. If I want to clean the countertop for an hour, if I want to design and arrange the house a certain way, and that's what it takes to get that, the obsession, the intrusive thoughts, the fears, whatever it is, that's anxiety. Here comes the obsessions sometimes. But please understand that. It's not about you. And that's just infuriating to me when people are that ignorant and they won't take time to educate themselves and they don't understand their partner that has anxiety and OCD. And here's what you need to know is that sometimes your partner doesn't even understand they have it. sometimes, not everybody got blessed like me. I'm grateful for that every day, even though I went through a hell of a lot at a young age. I got appointed to a therapist, and I got to have some of that help and understanding. Some people grow up and they are walking around this world and they don't know what's wrong with them. They don't know why they have fear that overcomes them all of a sudden. They don't know why they have to clean the countertop for an hour, but they just know they do. They don't know why they need to arrange the house in a certain way, but they just do. It's stemming from some kind of, and it doesn't always come from trauma. It doesn't always. A lot of times, anxiety disorders can be genetic, can be inherited. It's not always some deep-rooted thing that happened, but in most cases it is. Whether it was bullying as a child or abuse in the home or something, insecurities, phobias, fears, this shit can develop, okay? It's very real. And sometimes you may be dealing with a person who has never had a proper diagnosis, but they are just showing manifestations of doing little rituals or having to have their environment a certain way. I'm going to get into all my examples in the next video. Trust me, if you care about that person and you love them, don't make it about you. I can't tell you the people that have made that mistake. You won't let me touch anything. You just want to control me. You're so hyper-focused on that. You care more about cleaning that counter than you do me. You won't let me do anything. Oh my God. Instead of taking the time to understand and go, wow, I wonder what the person I love and care for is afraid of. I wonder what's going on inside of them that has made them this way. What fear, what is it they're afraid of? Maybe I can examine that further with them and, understand why they don't want me to touch this particular thing. Understand why they feel the need to organize and clean certain things and do certain things. Maybe I could understand why. Oh God, it is the worst thing ever to be around a really a person with low emotional intelligence and someone who constantly makes everything about them. Even your suffering, they make it about them. Don't do that. Please don't do that. I'm trying to tell you from my own experience of what has hurt me before and what that person could have done, how I would have loved and respected and appreciated them so much for that level of understanding, but I didn't get it. I'm trying to give you guys a little awareness and, hopefully that'll help somebody. It'll reach somebody. So anyway, I've got to go. I've got to go to work. I've got to cut this one off. This isn't near what I have to tell you guys about OCD and the research I've done over the years and what I've lived through with it. But that was the main point I wanted to get out for just right now. We hear it thrown around everywhere. And that's just not it, y'all. It's not just somebody's picky. Somebody's wanting to be a bitch. Somebody wants to control you. A lot of times, a person who has a need to control their environment or do certain things, they have some very deep-rooted issues. And I do understand. That's their responsibility. Yes, it's our responsibility, we people who suffer from certain things, to keep that shit roped in, to be responsible for it. We can't just throw it all over other people and dominate their life with it. I understand that. And if someone's doing that to you, they need to be responsible for their disorder. If they're just putting it all over your life and making your life a living hell, no, they need to seek the help and do the work, okay? That's not what I'm saying. That you need to lay down like a doormat and let someone with a disorder just walk all over you. No. But what I am saying is, if at all possible, if you're around someone who suffers from something like that and you can be a friend to them, you can try not to take it personally, because it's not about you. I promise you, it's not. I don't care how close you are, how in love you are. It's not fucking about you. What the terror, the OCD, the anxiety, the things that are going on in their mind that they're having to do, it's not about you. Promise you. So that's all I'm saying. If you can be understanding and see that their ways are coming from some kind of deeper terror or deeper issue, I'm telling you, that person will probably be most grateful to you. They will love you and respect you so much for doing that for them, because there's so many people out there that won't, that don't give two shits, that actually judge you, blame you, pick at you, try to come at you and provoke you to make it worse. There are some really sick fucks out here, some really tormented people who have never gotten any help for themselves and who won't, and they will literally see that you have a disorder and that there's something going on with you, and they'll come over that line to try and trigger you on purpose and twist you up and make it even worse for you. The worst thing, I've been through that, and it's so crushing. So let's not do that to people, okay, guys? Let's pay attention. Let's have some understanding and awareness of the people around us, our loved ones, and what they are actually going through. It's not just a fucking thing to throw around. They're picky, they're controlling, they just want to be a bitch. Let's understand, okay? All right, I'll be back in a part 2 with this, and we're going to get way deeper off into OCD, my experiences, and, you know, what it's really all about, okay? Thank you for watching.